How are you doing, folks? We're back in lockdown, so said we'd do a couple of more videos. So today I'm going to do two at the same time. I'm going to do a pork and leek pie, and I'm going to do a vegetarian pie with chickpea and tomato. So for the pork and leek pie, I have this already done. This is a pork hock, and I got this in Seamus Sullivan's butcher. And a pork hock, they cost me €3 for the pork hock. One pork hock, they're quite big. And it was €3. So this entire dish for four, between the pork and all the different veg, is going to come in at under €7. And the veg pie is even cheaper again. So you're talking really good value. Now with this, I have cooked it. So got it yesterday, soaked it for a few hours in cold water, and then last night just put it on a pot on a good simmer and left it on for 2.5 to 3 hours, and took it out, cooled it overnight, and then just chopped it all up, ready to go. And it's really tasty. And there's little bits of fat through it that were stuck on, and I leave them on because they'll add flavour into the pie. But something like a pork hock has fabulous flavour and unreal value. Like, so you'll get a dinner for four out of this for £3 on meat. As I said, I got this one, Seamus Sullivan's butcher. They have them fresh, beautiful big ones. And even if you're to buy two, that's £6 for a huge amount. The other one then will be a tomato and chickpea, but it will have lots of veg. So I got the veg in the butcher shop inside in town, and carrots, leeks, celery, got onions in the garden, garlic. This garlic is actually from Tarbert. There's a farm in Tarbert growing garlic, which I only came across myself during the summer. And they have this, and they have black garlic, which is beautiful as well. This is just plain garlic. That's what I got off of them. Peas and sweet corn. Bunch of herbs just chopped up as well. That's for the pastry. Tin of chopped tomatoes, tin of chickpeas. Couldn't get any simpler than that. So we'll give it a start. So I've got the two pots on, and I'm going to do the two side by side, as I said. Now on the other pot here, I have a white sauce. It's for the pork dish. It's literally just a plain white sauce, milk, touch of water, a stock cube, and I thickened it up. Plain and simple. That's not where the flavour is coming from. So the base of both of these is going to be the same. Onions, the garlic, in it goes. Plenty of garlic. Okay? And then what everybody calls the Trinity: carrots, leeks, and those three ingredients. We want to get them in because they're going to, the pork is cooked, they're not, so they'll take a little while. So your celery, great way to get veg into kids as well as into the pies and stuff like that, so they melt away, cook down in it, so they don't see it. But because this is the pork and leek, there has to be plenty of leek. Plenty of leek in the other one as well. This leek's a really good one for anything that's slow cooked. And I have peas and sweet corn, but I won't add them till later. So we're going to season these. Sea salt as always. Not going to go mad in here with the addition of pork. You don't want too much salt. Black pepper. Good twist. And that's all we're going to add for the moment now while we let these sweat down. We're going to cook these out then for a minute, and we're going to add our alcohol. Now you don't have to add alcohol. I am going to add white wine for both. You could add none. Cider would go really well with the pork one. I was actually going to put Cronin cider into it, but it never made it. So we're going with white wine, because there is some of that there. But yeah, cider obviously very good with pork as well. We're just going to give those a stir and get a good old cook on them before we add anything else. So as you can see, nice mix. They've been cooking down now for just a couple of minutes, you can see. And I'm just going to add, as I said, the white wine because the Cronin cider disappeared. So a good glove of wine. We'll put that in. That's going to be the start base of our sauce coming up. As I said, it's going to be a white sauce in the pork dish, and the tomato sauce in the other dish. So we're just getting them there now cooked down. So now what I'm going to add is some Tabasco into both. Brings a great background flavour. Don't go too mad in it, it will bring heat. I'm going to add some Worcester, but only to this one, because if that's vegetarian, this is not. So a couple of drops of that go in there. Now, I've spoke about this before, long and slow dishes benefit from capers. So I'm going to add a couple of capers into it. If you want to go mad, you won't taste these afterwards, but the flavour they bring in is just fantastic. So any dishes that are going low and slower for a long time, stews and all that sort of stuff, or if you're braising a dish, a piece of meat, capers are a great addition to add in for the flavour they'll bring. And one jar will go a long ways in the cupboard. So I'm just going to add a few little bits of herbs in there out of the way to get them going. Now into the pork dish, I'm going to add some mustard. Now you don't have to add mustard, but it does go well with pork. Now I'm using Dijon this time. You can use any mustard you want, whatever your preferred mustard is, but pork and mustard are great friends. They go really, really well together. So I'm going to get that in there as well. I want to get that flavour all of the ways through. And get it well mixed in. Both sides. And we are now going to add, to the vegetarian one, just a tin of chopped tomatoes. Simple as that. Not making any sauces out of it, nothing, just straight in. Mix that in. Because you don't want it too almost stew-like, you want it much thicker because it's going into a pie. So that's just going to be in there to help them cook out. Now for this one, as I said, it's going to be a white sauce. Now I made this plain white sauce, but I made it way thicker. So I over thickened it. I'm going to add that in there. I want it much thicker. As I said, it's not really, I'm not using it as a sauce. I'm using it as something to bind everything together. Now, to get a good mix there, give you an idea, the meat has yet to go in, but this is what you're looking at. Lovely mix of vegetables already. Now into this you could put chicken and any piece of cooked meat that you had left over, actually. Literally any cooked meat you had left over. If you had a big roast on and there was a lot left, the only one I wouldn't use would be beef. But if you chicken or pork, fish, I mean, you're most of the ways to a chowder there. And so I'll get a separate spoon now for that one, which I had here all along. Give that a mix. Now if you want it, if you like stuff really, really spicy, put chilies in at the very, very start as well, into your vegetarian dish. You can put in a lot of chili or any other spices that you really, really like. Put them in at the start and fry them first, just to get that flavour going. It'd be very, very nice as well. If you wanted a more kind of African-y flavour profile to it, cumin, coriander, chili, all of those could have been gone in at the start if you wanted to. I'm going for more of a traditional European style pie here with pastry crust, not looking for heat or anything in it. So it's a good vegetable flavour. So it's a great selection of vegetables there. I'm going to put this back onto a slower ring and let it cook for us down for a small bit, just to make sure all the veg are cooked, because the meat going into it is cooked and it won't, you don't want big raw veg inside in it. So I'm just going to move them both to slow rings, and we're going to take a pause for a minute until they're cooked out.
Go.
Now, we've let this cook down, as you can see, lovely. And we're going to add the finishing bits to this. So we've got some sweet corn, add that in. I'm going to add peas into it as well. Now I'm going to add peas to both. So here we go. As I said, this is a chickpea one, so you can get the cans of ready chickpeas. You can also buy the dried ones and soak them in, etc. Or you can just buy the ready-made ones. And then we give this a good old mix. Get it all in there. So now we end up with this. We're just going to cook that for a minute or two before we put it into our tray for baking. And with our pork one, we're now going to add meat. I'm going to heat that meat up thoroughly. I'm just going to put that there. And again, good mix. As you can see, now there is some pie filling, huh? Isn't that gorgeous? That's scrumdiddlyumptious right there. So, giving that a good old mix to make sure it's well incorporated and it's all through it lovely. Turn on that black ring again. Just turn it on a low. So we just want to get the heat through that pork and the peas. And here, same thing. Just the peas, the sweet corn and the chickpeas that we're heating up. They're going to be ready in literally 2 minutes. So now we've let it cook out for a little bit. This is what we have. Now I'm going to be putting a pastry crust on this. You could have just as easily put potatoes, make a mash and put it on top. Just as easy. I'm going to fill that right up. Ooh la la. Yeah. I swear I measured it. There you go. Now, so you could cover that in potato and bake it in the oven like that, that way. And if you were going to do that, a good thing to do would be to mix cheese through your potato as well. I'm going to go with a pastry crust on top of that, and we're going to do the pork one now as well. Now, there you go. Look at that. It could spread out. And again, you could do a potato crust on this as well, but again, I'm going with pastry on this one. Look at that, huh? Isn't that fantabulous? You could eat them like that, very, very simply. They'd be fabulous as is. Serve that as like a white casserole pork. It'd be beautiful on its own. That's fabulous. But what we're going to do is put a pastry crust on it and then bake it. We're going to put the top on, so what I'm just going to use is, I don't have a pastry brush. I meant to buy one after last lockdown. Piece of kitchen paper, dip it, and just rim the edges there like that. That'll just help it stick onto it. Cross both. Okay, and then puff pastry. So this is one sheet. One sheet does plenty. That'll go on and just press it down on it. Okay, and do the same on this side. Just put it across it. Now, if you don't like puff pastry, you could use short crust. You can do any pastry you want. Doesn't really matter. Let's do with pastry. Bring that up. So now what I want to do, I want to be able to get a glaze on these. So I'm just going to brush this on over them. Nice and liberally, all over them. Okay. That's a bit. Now the oven is set at about 160, 170. I'm going to bang these in for 25 minutes. You're just cooking the pastry because everything else is ready. So I'm just making sure I'm giving it a good liberal coating, and then you want to make sure that all the steam gets out. Just put a little cross in it. There you go, you can get decorative if you want. I'm going to throw these into the oven at about 160, 170 for 25 minutes, so we'll be back in 25 minutes. Here we are 25 minutes later, we popped them out. As you can see, this one, lovely crust. That's the vegetable one. So have something ready to pop your tray on. I only have one thing for popping stuff out of the oven, so I'm using a pot on the other one. So like that's a lovely vegetable main course. It can also be used as a lovely side dish, something very, very different for to go with something else, as a, you know, as your veg. And then you have the pork one here, which is eating and drinking and that. So now, for those that last year bought this one during the last lockdown, it sold out. There's a lot of lovely recipes like that in there. This is the new one, came out earlier this year. Back to the fruit too. So there's a lot of vegetarian recipes in that. That's still available off the website and the in the restaurant. And for those that like the foraging and follow us and know that we do a load of foraging, wild garlic came out. That's actually flying at the moment as a Christmas present. I think it's €7 in the restaurant, 10 online. And new as of today, the two of these came out. So Dave, who's worked in Cree and is off in France now and a member of the Culinary Gangsters, wrote this one on traditional Irish breads. I think it's €5. Really, really good value. And then those that have enjoyed the 8 steaks over the last 2 years, this is the story of them. It's not a recipe book, it's just the story of them steaks over the 2 years. But as I said, the Vegetopia book is there for lots of recipes like this one. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Let us know if you'd like to see more or what you'd like to see. And keep on keeping on. We'll talk to you soon.